Hey, this is a special video for those women who feel like they're holding it all together and wow, they're doing so much and no one else is pitching in. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you're always holding it all together at work, at home, in relationships? Here's the hard truth. You are likely overfunctioning. And the overfunctioning might be pushing other people away. It might be pushing away the very relationships you most want. I meet with women all the time who are go getters. I mean, they make stuff happen. They make stuff happen at work. They make stuff happen at home with their teams, with their kids, if they're married, with their partners. But under the surface, they're often exhausted and they feel unseen and sometimes very much alone. And when we dig deeper, we realize that these women often have a need to do it all, and that is keeping them from getting the love that they want and desire and deserve, for that matter. So I'm going to show you today a few things about overfunctioning and how to scale it back so that it actually promotes a deeper relationship. And at the same time, not losing power, not losing your own agency, not losing those things that are so needed in this world. So let's talk about overfunctioning. Overfunctioning is when you take on responsibilities that are more than your share. So it could be logistics around the house. It could also be emotional. You take on the emotional burden in some way of everyone. You take on the higher functioning in the relationship, whether that's to instigate conversations or intimacy or repair work or even social stuff with your partner. You're the one who's always doing, always doing. And likely you're doing it for one of these reasons: a fear that if you don't do it, nothing will happen. If you don't step in and cook dinner, if you don't step in and make um, make arrangements with friends, if you don't step in and look at the finances at any place, that things will fall apart. If you don't instigate those deep conversations, they'll never happen. If you don't make a first move sexually, it will never happen. And it's often a fear that those things won't happen that may have you overcompensating, overfunctioning. Sometimes it's also tied into a belief of my worth is only in what I do. It's not simply enough just to be, but I actually have to be doing something. That my worth is only valued when I can say, yeah, I did all these things today. And then sometimes it can be a patterning from childhood. Maybe you were given all these responsibilities. So it wasn't over functioning just started as an adult, but even as a kid, you were parentified. You were given all these responsibilities. And that was how you grew up thinking that that's how families work. That's what love is. There's a cost to all this. For one, over functioning creates an imbalance and it leaves others disempowered and can create resentment for everyone. It also leads to burnout, a deep sense of loneliness, because you don't often feel supported. So some subtle costs, some other areas of cost for this over functioning is it breaks down polarity. And when I talk about polarity, I mean a sexual polarity. So in relationships, we have or a love relationship or romantic relationship. There's a charge, right? You often have it right when you're meeting, and then over the months and years of relationship, it's important to keep that going. It often breaks down because of over functioning. Because when we have one person over functioning, then there's no space for your partner to step in. And often, what I hear so often from men is I want to make my wife happy. I want to step in. I want to serve. I want to be of service. I want to support her. I want to be right in there. And if you're over functioning, he often will find that, well, there's no place for me. I'm not really needed here. Often, also, men go through a lifetime of being told they're not enough. They're not strong enough, handsome enough, rich enough, whatever it might be. In some counter ways, that many women are told they're too much. Like, you need to dim your light. You're too loud. You're too boisterous. You're too aggressive, whatever it is. Men get that opposite. You're not enough. And so if you're over functioning, it's just really feeding that story. And I get it. It's work for him to do, but there's also work for you to do, because that over functioning is not helping either of you. It also becomes an erosion of trust. If one person is always taking on too much, and too much is relative, but more than your fair share, then there's a subtle message that I don't trust you. I don't trust that you will pick up the kids, that you'll hold me emotionally, that you'll care for our family, whatever it might be. And I don't trust you. And that's felt by your partner. And that lack of trust also erodes intimacy and connection, even if it's unintentional, with all of those things. So, decrease in polarity, decrease in trust, there comes resentment. And resentment can come from both sides. Resentment from always having to overfunction, and resentment from the other side of, like, there's no place for me here. I don't even know what to do. So it's easy to get stuck in these places. So here's some quick things on how to recognize it and to hopefully get out of it. One is just simply to ask yourself, when you're doing something, am I doing this for others so that I can feel better about myself? Am I doing something for others that they could actually do for themselves? What would happen if I stopped? What would happen if I stepped away? And, if it's a huge, big thing that you do all the time, you can't necessarily just poof, step away, but I'll show you, you can ease away from it. So there's a practice you can have of letting go, finding small things. And maybe it's as simple as the dishes. Maybe it is stepping back from making social plans until your partner says, oh, hey, we don't have anything going on this week. It could be subtle things. I mean, that could become passive aggressive. So you have to be a little careful there. But small places where you're recognizing that you're overcompensating, that you're over participating, so you can just pull back a little bit. And you can use language of, instead of saying, yes, I got that, or I'll handle it, you can say, hey, I trust you to do it. So when they ask you, can you do something, hey, I trust you got this. Or even, I can't do it right now, but I trust you've got this. So that's all fine and dandy when you have it in your head. But a lot of this comes down to retraining your body to be one of putting some boundaries in and saying, I'm going to let you do this. So it's a boundary for yourself. It's a boundary for them as well. And so just kind of picture for a moment that place where you're just always ready to step in, make your kids lunch, um, make the reservations, make the plans, call his mother, whatever it might be. Think of that place, hold that place for a moment, breathe into that place, let your body settle into, it's going to be okay if I don't step in. It's going to be okay even if this falls. We'll learn over time. It's a learning process. Overfunctioning might feel like the only way to keep things together, but it's actually pulling you apart. It's pulling you apart in your relationship. So by letting go, you're not losing power, you're gaining freedom. So I have a challenge for you. Experiment. Choose one thing, whether it's a task, a decision, the need to control someone else's process. Take just one thing and commit to letting go of it. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if it empowers you. It might cause a little friction. It's okay. Friction is where we get creation of something deeper. So don't be afraid of the friction. Try it out. See if it enhances the relationship, even if it creates a little bit of a bump, and see how by doing that, you can actually deepen your connection by no longer over functioning and actually meeting each other as peers, as people who are perfectly capable of living lives together as adults, and see how that enriches your relationship. All my best.